Anybody give you any shit about your glass when they buy it? They're like, man, this is trash. Fuck Kevin.
Bro,
fuck
it's so
Texas tubes.
funny. It's funny you ask that because it hurts so bad when someone says something like trashy. If it has a merit, I'm cool with that. Like, I get it. I'll apologize for this mistake I made, or this something I didn't do that's up to standard or didn't meet their standard. But when people talk trash, it hurts so bad. It's like, because I take this so seriously, I love it so much. So I'm not real graceful all the time with the criticism.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's the Puff and Prosper podcast for stoners who succeed, not the ones on your mom's couch or burned out or whatever. If you're watching this, you probably have your favorite glass piece in sight or in reach right now where you're sitting watching this. So this is going to be a good one for you, whether you like glass blowing or not. But I have the man, the myth, the legend, Kevin Ivey from Texas Tubes.
Wow. Thank you.
Dude.
Thank you, Colton. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, dude, I'm so excited to get into this. It's been a long time coming. I think I've had my eye on your page for quite some time. I had a piece, and I had friends that had pieces of yours over the last at least 3 years now that I've known about you. So bringing you on was like a natural thing. It was a no-brainer. So honored to have you here. I think we're going to get into a lot of interesting topics, but I did just want to start out with like, man, who are you? How'd you really get into the glass blowing and stuff, and just kind of learn about who Kevin is?
Sweet, man. Well, thank you for having me.
Of course.
This is awesome. Yeah, how did I get into glass? Like, I think, I was already prone to the arts as a young person. Like, they already spoke to me, so I had worked with things like metal and wood already, but glass was a little far off. Like, I started working with wood when I was in high school at wood shop, and I loved it. And I was on a wood lathe, creating stuff. So I had an idea for some of the machinery and some of the tools. And then once I got my hands on the glass, it was like, I was going to college at the time, and I pretty much just stopped going to school once I started blowing glass. I was actively going to school, and then I just wasn't. And then I had to kind of explain to my parents, like, I'm not going back.
No.
Like, I'm just going to keep blowing glass. Like, and they didn't get it, and they're like, they see like the pipes and they just think like weed, but they didn't understand, how glass as a medium had grabbed a hold of me. I mean, I started dreaming about glass shortly after getting my hands on it. And I knew then when I was dreaming about it, it's like, man, I got to do this. I would just wake up so excited about that, not even thinking about school.
Yeah.
When I first got my hands on glass, it was like no turning back. All I could think about was how I was going to go forward with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, if it makes you just up and quit college, I mean, it's got to be the thing, you know?
College wasn't for me anyway, you know what I mean? And it's so funny, a lot of people don't, like, I went to UTSA, I went to UT in San Antonio, right? And when you go to college at UT, back then, they made you take an aptitude test. It's like 100 questions, maybe like 110 questions. It's kind of redundant. It asks you like some of the same questions, but rewords them. And at the end, they tell you what you might be good at, maybe a nurse, maybe a doctor, maybe a lawyer, something like that. It gave me the answer that I would be good at, flint napping, which is like the act of like, hitting flint to make sharp objects and like tools. That it's like basically what a Native American or maybe a caveman would have done, right? So I was pissed, bro, when it came back like flint napping. Like, I thought I might have like a great chance to be something big, and I didn't realize that it was just telling me you might be good with your hands and creating something, So I was pissed. It took me years to like realize, oh, like I like work with fire and I work with my hands, and like they was pretty accurate actually.
They were right. Maybe they were trying to chase you off. Maybe that was the point.
Good thing.
The aptitude test, but they saved you. They did you a favor.
Yeah.
But like, how did you turn into this like celebrity glassblower? If that's a term, I don't know if that's a real term, but we can coin it here on the Puff and Prosper podcast.
Man, I really don't think about myself like that, but thank you. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I've seen big people in the industry shout you out. I really have. Like, I mean big people in the industry, maybe not by the number, but people who if you're in the industry, that they mean something. I've seen them shout you out and
That's
stuff.
Really cool.
So.
Yeah. So I think part of the reason is I just always put my heart into it and I never gave up. There's been, you run into times in your career where you're in between seasons, right? the game gets harder. Maybe people aren't buying glass, or maybe you're just not in love with your medium at the moment, or you're just getting tired. You know,
That's deep. Yeah.
I've had these times, multiple times, where I'm like, should I quit this?
Mm-hmm.
Should I keep going? And I always pushed and kept going, you know. And then like being a glass artist in San Antonio and in Texas, starting out in San Antonio, coming to Austin, Texas summers are brutal. It's hot,
Yeah.
and my job is hot, you know. And so like a lot of times in the summer, like my fellow glassblowers would just be like, I'm not doing this. Like I'm gonna take a month or two off, which I get, but I would just keep grinding through the summer. And then as soon as summer starts to come to an end, that's when
Yeah.
college kids come back in, and all the smoke shops realize I don't have shit on my shelves.
Yeah.
I gotta call somebody. And being that person that they could call and that would come through with cases, because I would grind all summer long, just have gun cases full of spoons and oneies and Sherlocks and all kinds of, you know. And then they would, you know, get it on their books that, oh shit, when we run out of stuff, we could call Kevin. He'll have something, you know. So
That's huge, dude.
yeah.
That's badass. But so here's the cool thing. That's a great segue, because I actually, one of my things on here was how this is something that I think a lot of artists struggle with, is being an entrepreneur too.
Yeah.
And so that's something cool that stuck out to me about you, was that, you know, yeah, you had the online presence, you were gutting it out, but I know for a fact, in order to get that amount of content and grow that much, you really have to be in the shop gutting it out, doing it,
Thank you.
you know? And so I did want to talk about that too, because a lot of artists have problems putting it out, like putting themselves out there, which is
Yeah.
odd, because isn't that contradictory of what being an artist is, right? But a lot of them have a really hard time
Yeah.
tackling the entrepreneurship side, putting
Yeah.
on their businessman hat. So what do you think has been your secret, your edge?
I don't know. I think maybe just eking by in that
Yeah.
part of it, because I really don't feel like I do it excellent. I look at people who do. I said
Do-do.
They do it excellent. You know, they're
Mhm.
amazing at it. You know, and maybe their online presence or this, you know, their persona is almost as good, if not better, than their glass that they're making. They have a way of like talking and selling, which I don't ever really feel like I had that gift of gab to do that.
Right.
So it feels good to hear that, like that it looks, because you know, I was talking to my buddy Braden earlier today. You know, he works in leather, and he also worked in the movie industry. So he's really good at like taking images and
Mhm.
sitting there for 2 hours and editing one video. Whereas I'm just like boop boop boop, like just I kind of do it quick, and I'm like, that's good enough. I got to go blow glass, you know. So I don't think I've ever been really really great at it. However, I just try my best, and I appreciate the compliment. That's really nice.
Dude, yeah, I mean that's really what I was taking it as, and like I said, even just what you're talking about. Like in the summertime when other people were taking time off, like I kept grinding.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of the times too, my artist friends battle with that, and I'm not saying this from my high horse. Like it does happen to me too. There's plenty of episodes of the Puff and Prosper podcast that are floating around that I haven't put out yet. But you know, managing it and monetizing it, you know, that's something that not every artist can do. Even though they're, like you said, they could be the really good glass blower, but be terrible at the entrepreneurship side. But they
Yeah.
could be really good at the entrepreneurship side and be an average glass blower.
Yeah.
You know, so it was interesting. I think you have a good mix of both,
Thanks, man.
for sure.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I struggle in that, you know, with I would love to have better content, but I feel like my glass game is decently strong. So yeah, thank you
Dude.
for pointing that out.
I would say better than decent for sure. And I think another thing that's cool is like you do have the crazy, intricate, detailed, expensive pieces, but I think what's cool too is you also offer like the good old classics, like the straight up beakers and the ones that are, you know, nostalgic even
Yeah.
and affordable.
Yeah.
So that's another thing too that was cool about your whole model is because it's not like that sometimes in other places. You know, I won't list any other brands, but you know, it's like if I want good quality glass, where do I go?
Yeah.
Sometimes going around to the corner store is like, you know, this
Yeah.
one, you know,
Yeah.
and you don't know where it's coming from, you don't know who did it, you know,
Yeah.
it's not unique in any way, and sometimes you still pay premium for it. So
Right.
yeah, your work's like it's really interesting, and also just the business model. So I mean, there's no question why you've grown like the online presence that you have. So this podcast is not just flattery, okay? So just wait, it's coming.
Here
I'm
comes the
gonna
hard
here
questions.
come the hard questions. No, but how do you think? And this is really I think that the side that I wanted you to come on the show to really explain is how do you think glass blowers? I'm sure there's this mafia of glass blowers out there, right?
Yeah.
How do you think that they've like shaped and changed the industry and the scene over these last few years? Because how long have you been blowing glass
This is
now?
my 24th year.
Wow.
So I've seen a lot,
Yeah,
you
over 2
know?
decades.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm
it's a
kind
lot
of
of
like,
change.
I'm the old guy on the block now. Like, I don't even, I walk by the mirror, I get surprised. Like, who the fuck? Like, okay, all right. Um, but yeah, man, what exactly was the question?
It's okay. How do you think that the glass blowers have changed and shaped the industry or the culture, even over these last 2 decades, like you were talking
Yeah.
about?
I mean, I feel like it was the American glassblowers that made the culture,
Mhm.
you know, and I think it shaped more organically. I feel like back in the beginning, people made very unique stuff. People were on like in the beginning, my beginning, whatever, in the early 2000s, people were into making something that looked different from the last thing that they were making.
Making,
And
yeah.
it was that was like a big part of the challenge. It was like and it was like I got to make something different. I got to one up the last guy or whatever I did last, and that made for a lot of innovation back then.
Mhm.
And you saw a lot of like diversity, and you would travel. I would travel to different areas. Like I go to Colorado, and I would see different techniques I'd never seen before, ever. Like I'd never seen a finished product that looked like this. Nothing. And I'm watching people do these crazy techniques. I'm like, I didn't even know you could do this with glass. This is great. And that was really fun, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like more recently it's become like, how can you market yourself and build hype behind what you're doing so that you can shoot for big dollars with these glass pieces?
Yeah.
And that's something that I never really fell into. I never really fell into the hype like, oh, I got to make this simple piece but charge 5 grand for it, you know? And I feel like that is serving me now as our
Yeah.
economy is kind of in the trash right now. People that were on the hype train are struggling.
Mhm.
And maybe it's because they didn't back their work up with a lot of technique. You know, they were trying to make something
Yep.
simple and sell it for a lot of money and get hype behind it. So, but I feel like maybe I was able to back my work up with a lot of technique to where now when I do these techniques, even if it's an old school technique, people are just like, wow, I've never seen that before. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this is a fume technique I learned over 20 years ago, you know? Seems kind of simple, but like, you know,
Yeah,
so
dude. I
yeah,
can see where that definitely gives you, like, that edge. Like I said, the differentiator too.
yeah.
That's super cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, still, I think, to me, glass was not important in my experience with cannabis until, like, I started to really mature into it, and
Ooh,
I really started to even care, like, first of all, like, what product am I using? You know, at what standard am I, holding my product to, right?
yeah,
And so then that went to, like, okay, if I'm gonna have really high quality stuff, why would I use really low quality glass, you
yeah,
know, that's only gonna be here for a few months or at best, you know, and be broken. And so then I had, clients too that I would go to their places and they'd be like, "Yo, you wanna smoke a bowl or something?" I'd be like, "Yeah, of course." And here it is, this giant magnanimous Texas tube, you know, and it was like, wow, it's everywhere.
that's dope.
It's crazy. But not everybody can do that, dude. Like, you know, I think that also, I think it goes back into being an artist, which is something I wanted to explore with you is like you said, there's probably better glass blowers out there that are less known, maybe less successful because they have some of those artist pitfalls, right? They're like not out there enough, or they take the time off, or they just, like you said, they're chasing the next best one. They never create a line that they can sell and monetize or
Yeah.
something.
And then there's things like mental illness. You know, I see some of the
Yeah.
most amazing glassblowers, but they suffer from things like mental illness or
Hmm.
addiction that keep them from being able to
Back.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, keep going, you know, step forward. They're brilliant. They're brilliant people
Yeah.
and they can't do it,
Yeah.
you know, and they seem to like everywhere they go, they seem to like cause the same sort of
Yeah.
problem in that community. And then they become known for that rather than their glass, you know?
Yeah. What's the most expensive piece you think you've ever done?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah. I told you it wasn't all flattery. There's some
Yeah.
hot ones in here. They're coming.
I don't know. I think like 5 grand has probably been
Yeah.
my cap personally, but I've
Any were they any of them for like really like high level people or celebrities or anything yet?
oh, I do have a few celebrities
Yeah.
around the area that like to collect my glass, which is really awesome, but I try not to talk about them too much because they're more
That's all right.
private people and like and then it feels like you're just like throwing out names and stuff
For
like that,
sure.
which is not
Hey, well, you know, the people want to know, man.
yeah,
Who's
I don't think
smoking
people
Texas tubes,
yeah,
man?
I know, but I don't think the people that collect those, I don't know that they want their name thrown around like that.
Yeah,
Like,
that's cool.
but some of the most famous podcasters in the world love my glass and and they're very well known. We don't have to talk about their names, but yeah,
I love
dude, it's cool.
it.
Yeah.
What do you think the most like cheap and simplistic piece you've ever done was?
Oh wow. For years I made, little one hitters that,
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
sell for a couple bucks for, as wholesale to the shops. The shops
Yeah.
would buy hundreds at a time. But that was their bread and butter. And they still talk about that. Building a business off of things that I made, it feels really good, man.
Yeah.
It feels really good when they come back to you and they thank you years later. They're like, man, the first pieces I ever bought were from you.
Yeah.
And I literally built my business off of what you recommended because I didn't know what the people wanted. And I'm like, here, instead of buying too much of this, try diversifying. Buy some of these, some of these, some of these,
Hmm.
and it all goes. And then I'm back there 2 weeks later selling them another load, It was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's still shops that are still struggling to figure out
Yeah.
what the people want,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But I can help with that if you're watching.
Yeah. Nice.
Um, no, no shameless plugs. This is not for that. Not for that. Any like crazy shit ever happened to you? Like, I mean, it's a dangerous thing, right? It's not.
Yeah.
You're playing with fire and
Yeah.
hot glass and stuff. You ever get like catch burns or
Oh, dude,
injuries or
all the
something?
time. Still now,
What's the craziest one?
Oh, I got burned in my neck one time. That was wild because my neck, like I was going to push the bottom on this hammer that I had
Mm.
made, and the below tube broke, and the piece came back at my face. It was coming right from my face, so I turned my head like this, and it stuck to my neck. It was so hot, it stuck to my neck. So I hit it with my hand, and then I'm like, oh shit, what do I do? And as I'm doing that, the skin starts to tighten
Uh
up,
huh.
and my neck just starts to move over like this. And I was stuck on the couch for the next 2 days with like a pack of frozen peas on my neck, trying to, you got to cool the surface, then you got to put aloe vera is amazing, bro. Like I keep real aloe plants and I give them away to my glass
Yeah.
blowing friends because you can literally take aloe vera, bust open the leaf, rub it on your skin, maybe your finger, you burn your fingers real bad. If you burn your skin real bad and then you get close to the torch again, it feels like your hand or whatever is back in the flame again. It's that painful.
Mm-hmm.
If you use aloe vera, a few minutes you can get back into the work. It's not great feeling, but it's a whole lot better than if you don't. But there's like some amazing. So like that, cutting myself so bad, burning myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of hazards to it. And I want to say that it's gotten better, right? I've gotten smarter, right? Because you hopefully you learn from your mistakes. So I'm not hurting myself as much anymore. But you'd be surprised, bro. I come
Oh,
with a
for sure.
nasty cut, and I'm just like, take some paper towel, roll it around that, take some duct tape, put it around that, let's go. And they're like, why don't you use a band-aid? A band-aid's not gonna work for this, bro. You need something better,
That's
something.
gnarly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always been to me it's been scary to watch people blow glass sometimes because I'm like, dude, you're one step away from just boiling your whole neck off.
Yeah.
How did you? Oh my god, I can't imagine it being. It was stuck there.
Yeah, it stuck to the skin. The skin stuck to the glass that was hot.
So when it came off, your skin came with it.
Some of it, yeah, like the top
Oh
layer
my.
for sure. And then you're just burned real bad, and on a very sensitive place. Like this is
Oh,
not used to getting that hot. Your hands is
yeah,
different, but like, yeah,
dude, that's insane.
yeah. And the cuts, man, and just the blood everywhere.
Oh,
It's like a murder
yeah.
scene off a glass cut.
All right, before everyone passes out, we're gonna
Yeah.
move on. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Anybody give you any shit about your glass when they buy it? They're like, man, this is trash. Fuck Kevin.
Bro,
Fuck
it's so
Texas tubes.
funny. It's funny you ask that because it hurts so bad when someone says something like trashy, and it's like usually not. If it has a merit, if it has merit, I'm cool with that. Like I get it. I'll apologize for this mistake I made, or this something I didn't do that's up to standard or didn't meet their standard. But when people talk trash, it hurts so bad. Like you would think it's like, okay, you let it roll off your back, like, oh, you consider the source, all that shit, right? No, but it really hurts. It's like because I take this so seriously, I love it so much, so I'm not real graceful all the time with the criticism.
For sure.
Yeah,
People hit you in the comment section,
yeah.
so then they probably don't even own any of your shit.
Maybe not. People can get real ugly on the internet, hiding behind their keyboard, bro.
Yeah.
And to face, if people have a legitimate gripe, I'm usually like, man, I'm so sorry. I hate that happened. I dislike that happened.
Yeah.
But those are few and far between. I'm grateful for that. And but occasionally you make something and just wasn't up to the standard, and you don't always catch it,
Mhm.
and then it gets out there, and then you got some splaining to do.
What's the most interesting thing about glass blowing that you can think of? Like, what is something that people don't know about glass blowing that might like really surprise them?
Yeah, I don't know. A few things. Like the tools really fascinate me. I'm a
Mhm.
tool collector. I have so many torches. I probably have 15, 16 torches. What for? Why do you need that many? I don't know. Half of them are in a box in my garage. Open up a box. I'm like, damn, I forgot about this one, and like, but I feel like one day I'm gonna have them like trophies on a wall,
Mm-hmm.
kind of set up there. Um, uh, one thing that a lot of people don't realize, halfway through my career, I got super blessed to be able to work as a scientific glassblower. I met this guy named Michael Ronalter, who was the head of the scientific glassblowing for the University of
Yeah.
Texas here in Austin. And he worked for the chemistry department. And the chemistry kids are in the lab and they're making stuff and they break stuff or they need a special manifold or something made. And they would come to him. And this guy, Mike, I met him just by happenstance. And he saw me making pipes with all the same torches and some of the same tools. And we were using the same medium, the
Mm-hmm.
same COE 33 borosilicate glass. And he tricked me, bro. And to come to work at the university, he said, I need your help. And I'm like, oh, that's great, man. You need my help. He didn't really need my help. He saw what I was doing and seen that I had been a garage taught grassroots glassblower. He had gone to college. He had gone to Salem University to learn about glass and then spent 2 decades working for the
Mm-hmm.
University of Texas making all this stuff. And he could see all these holes in my game that he wanted to fill, but he didn't tell me that. He just hired me like, I need your help. And then he would teach me all this amazing stuff. That's where I got
Damn.
good at working a lathe. That's where I realized that all these torches that were built before my time from like World War II technology had so much value for what I was doing, and I didn't know it. I thought I needed this newer technology, and I didn't always need that newer
Mm-hmm.
technology. I was better suited with some of the older technology, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel super blessed that like 10 years into my career, I met him. And from that point, I'd only been a bench worker, which means I would just use my bench torch and use my hands to create. But once I got to the lab at the university, I started using a lathe.
Mm-hmm.
He would never let me use a kiln. A kiln is an oven
Yeah.
that you use to keep glass hot. So when we're making pipes, we'll get like, want to take a little water break? You just take the pipe on the blow tube and you just put it in the kiln and it's good, it's hot. You can come back to it 10 minutes later. He wouldn't let me do that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you use the kiln to preheat everything you want to preheat. That way you just pull it out, it's nice and warm. You don't have to warm it up from cold because thermal shock is a thing with glass.
Yeah.
If you warm it up from just room temperature, you're likely to break stuff unless you know how to warm it in, and it takes more time. He made me warm everything up from room temperature, work it, do all the work, and then cool it back down with my torch. And that was I learned so much about glass
Wow.
just with that practice. And so that was a huge blessing along the way to have that in the
Yeah.
middle of my career. And when I came out of working at the university, that's when I started Texas Tubes. That's when I bought my own lathe. That's when I started prospering, and taking on other people and having employees and working together with a group of people to build a bigger brand, you know?
That's unbelievable. That's honestly an unbelievable story. So you're literally like, you're learning from a glass expert.
I'm a master.
Unreal. And
Yeah.
then applying it obviously
Yep.
to your own.
And now he
That's
never made pipes or anything like that ever.
only the like chemistry
Yep. And he
like,
had zero connection to cannabis, right?
for sure.
So he just kind of looked at what I was doing. He's like, that's cute. Let me show you some real shit, and bigger scale and bigger tools and these lathes and all this equipment. And I learned so much, dude. Like it was such a blessing. So it's like
Dude.
after learning the medium and having a good understanding, but with all these holes in my game, I seemingly went back to school to learn all this shit in
Yeah.
the middle of my career. And then I come out like so much more powerful and ready to like conquer a new thing. So it was a huge blessing.
Unreal.
Yeah.
That's a sales pitch for Texas too, in and of itself. I don't know if anyone's in the market or interested, but shoptexastubes.com, right?
Thank
Is
you,
that it?
bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's it, dude. Thank you.
yeah. I mean, you know a lot of people in the industry though, right?
Yeah.
And beyond Texas, right? Beyond.
Yeah. It's crazy. Worldwide, man.
I can see the look on your face. You're like, where are you going with this?
No,
Yeah.
it blows my mind. Like you made me think. And if you don't mind, I just would
No,
love
yeah.
to say, like this summer, I got to go take a trip to Italy, and I've been waiting for decades to go to Italy, and meet amazing glass artists like Cesare Tofolo, and I met all these amazing maestros, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say, on this tiny little island off the coast of Italy. Because like 5,000 years ago, the king in Venice was like, all you glassblowers, I'm tired of you burning down my city. Y'all got to go onto this little island off the coast and y'all can be there and they were sort of banished out there, but it made
Wow.
a small, tight community where people just worked on glass. Everything's glass. There's no businesses there that don't surround them. Even though like the restaurants, they're just serving glass blowers. You know what I mean? And that was really cool to go there and then to have them embrace me and not look.
Yeah.
For many years, I've been looked down on by the bigger glass
Mhm.
community as being a pipe maker.
Mhm.
It's still a bit different now with
What
the whole
is, for
community.
the people that don't know, what is the bigger glass community?
Well, there's all different kinds of glass, right? Like you can think about the people who do offhand glass where they go into a
Mhm.
hot furnace with a big blowpipe and then they come out and it takes a team of people to shape it and everything. And then you have your glass fusers, which tend to be like maybe an older crowd, maybe typically a lot of females who want to like they're not working with hot glass, they're fusing glass, or
Mhm.
making small jewelry and
Yeah.
stuff. So there's a bigger community out there not within the pipe game, right?
Right.
Who kind of looked at the pipe game and were like, what are you kids doing? Not realizing that we all had this love, this affinity for the medium. They didn't understand. They just thought we were like, oh, y'all are smoking weed, like
Yeah.
when really to me, for me personally, it was way bigger. Yes, I'm a cannabis crusader. I love cannabis, but like really honestly, at the end of the day, it's the medium that really drew me in.
Mhm. Totally.
Yeah,
That's super cool.
thanks.
And like, how did the trip to Italy really impact like your work and stuff? Like all these experiences, even with the guy that made it from, or that was making glass for chemistry purposes and all that. Did these really influence your product that you put out now?
So much.
Crazy.
I mean, it's
And
just
do other people have that? I mean, I mean, how many glass blowers really get out and about, right? I mean, is that common that people can have experiences like that, or do most people just come from the garage and
I think a lot of people come from the garage, maybe
nothing
they
wrong with that?
no,
That's
no,
not what
no,
we're
not at
saying.
all.
I'm
And
just curious.
but it's just interesting because in Italy, how you get into the glass game is your father teaches you.
You're born into
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
And your father's father was a master glass blower and maybe his father. So you're in a lineage.
for sure.
And then your family just does this. They make these items, say it's like these goblets and just these shapes and these styles.
Yeah.
And that's what your family does. I could go into it and just talk about it all day because it's so beautiful. But here in the United States, it's a little bit different. If your
Different, yeah.
dad's a lawyer, you don't want to be a lawyer. If your dad's a glass blower, you don't want to see glass. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
over there, it's different. It's like it's a blessing. It's like my father taught me
right.
this, and my grandfather taught my father, and it's like
Yeah.
it's a big deal. And that's not just for men either. It passes down through women too, and the women are very strong in what they do and
Oh yeah,
amazing. Because I should speak on that too because although glassblowing may seem like it's a male dominant thing and women might feel like they don't get their shine, and I've talked to a lot of women about this even on my podcast, but what I think is special and unique is that there are less women in our industry, so they do get to stand out more,
true.
and women have an amazing touch with everything that they do, this feminine touch, this beauty that men just don't quite have the
No,
same.
we just have brute.
Yeah, we're more
Yeah.
just utilitarian. Women are like this beautiful flower,
Yeah.
and so they're able to bring something really special to the glass that I'm always really drawn to. I can look at a piece and be like, a female just definitely had a hand in this, or I can walk into a room and be like, I think a female helped decorate this room. Like, I feel it and it's beautiful,
Yeah.
and so it's really cool to have. And I want to just take a moment to like recognize the females in our industry because you got to be strong to do this. I mean, mentally, physically, everything. You got to be strong, whether you're a male or a woman, a man or a woman. And so just shout out to all the females that have stuck through it and like worked really hard and made a name for themselves. They're awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, since the glass blowing community is probably like a little sub community inside of cannabis, I know it has its own family outside of that as far as a large glass blowing community. But as like the sub niche in cannabis, does it seem very cutthroat and stuff and jealous and competitive, or is there more of a camaraderie?
Of course not. Jealousy and glass? No way. Yeah, there's a lot of that, bro. But there's also a lot of camaraderie. There's a
Yeah.
really cool people. I met some of the coolest people in my life. And I've also watched something sad, and this happens anywhere. You could be an actor, you could be a lawyer, you could be a glassblower. A lot of times, somebody that takes the time to
Mhm.
to put in the tens of thousands of hours to get so good to doing something, they're dorks, they're geeks, they're
Yeah,
nerds. You nerd out. I nerd out on glass so long.
totally.
And the most powerful thing, the most powerful drug I've ever seen for anybody, human being, is money and power, money and fame
Yeah,
and power.
for sure.
And I've seen that happen to lots of glassblowers where they get a little bit of clout and they're just not themselves
Not the same.
anymore. And I can say that I've grown and I've changed and I've made my fair share of mistakes along the way. But I like to think that I've stayed true to myself and had good changes and good growth. You know,
Yeah.
I like to think that about myself. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, for sure. I was just curious because I feel like there is that in the cannabis industry for sure.
I
I
see it hard in the heady boys in the cannabis
Oh
industry. It
man.
seems like it's pretty rough, huh?
Dude, yeah. I mean, it's pretty rough. I mean, I like to say now, granted, I can't take all the credit for everything that happens with all of my ventures. It's a ton of other people, including Silent Shit Studios. Um, but you know, I am as in it as it gets. Like you can see from my profile and stuff, like I am in it every day. I may not be in the grow with the plants every single day, but every single day I have something to do with the cannabis industry, especially in Texas,
Yeah.
nonetheless at large.
Yeah.
And so crafting that has been really cool. Pioneering in that has been really cool for this state because I love Texas. I'm Texas through and through. I mean,
Yeah.
we grow it here, we harvest it here, we smoke it here. You know, like that's just how we are.
I
And
support that.
love it. And that's what we thought the state needed. But inside of doing this, I mean, it's been a lot of good experiences, but terrible experiences. I mean, like I said, in this industry, there's people like that I love, and there's people that I wouldn't piss on if they were on fire. You
Yeah,
know, low
man, I
key.
feel you.
And that's like it's okay, that's how it works, but I really like the camaraderie that the little subsection of growers, I think growers, and I don't mean like people who try to grow, I mean true growers, some of which are not even you don't even know them,
You can't know them.
and you can't know them yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
And the
and
best you probably never meet, and they're not out there
100%.
bragging about their shit. They're just doing it.
They're just doing it.
Yeah, I like people that don't just you know, you can talk about it. I like
Yeah.
people that be about it. And
Yeah.
I want to thank you too because I feel like it's really important and something I might sound like a broken record on this, but it's really important and people don't realize whether cannabis is legal or not, people are going to smoke it. They're going to use it, right?
For
So we
sure.
know the consumption is there. And we've got some of the biggest cities in Texas, right? We got some of the biggest cities in the nation, right? I mean, we've
Absolutely.
got Dallas, Fort Worth, El Paso, San Antonio, Austin, Corpus Christi, Houston, these huge metroplexes, not to mention all the other small towns.
Yep.
I love you all, Texas. But people are going to consume. So if
Mhm.
we're not making it here,
It's coming from
it's
somewhere.
coming from somewhere else. And
Ah,
if that money is leaving our state, that's money from our economy that's
100%.
not staying in our economy. It's very important to me that money, people think about what they're doing with their money.
Yeah.
Vote with your money, make choices with your money. If you can, buy local, support a local farmer, support
Yep.
someone that puts love into what they do, whether it's glass or growing cannabis or
100%.
running the shop where you buy your cannabis or your glass. Like, you know, support someone that loves, you know, just don't just go buy it anywhere.
And it's crazy, and I have to say it because you literally primed it up, but there are in fact people that have brands and businesses that are pushing that they're for Texas and they're a part of all these political groups and
Yeah.
everything, right?
Yeah.
But they don't get their products from here. Not all of them, at least, but I'm pretty sure. And so, you know, fair is fair, business is business. But I'm just saying, there's been some cutthroat, some stuff over here. Like,
There was a time on Instagram where people were really about show us your studio, right?
right.
Because there's a lot of people out there that are saying, hey, we made this glass, they're putting their name on it, when really they're importing it from China,
Mm-hmm.
taking the made in China sticker off, putting their
Stitching
fakey
their thing.
bakey label on it and
Yeah.
being like, look at what we did.
Yeah.
So there was a page for a while that was like, show us your studio. And it was calling out all the people like, we want to see you making this product. We want to see it.
Yeah.
And they couldn't provide it. So they
Yeah.
were putting up fake images from another studio that's not even in the same
Yeah.
state. You know, there's not, I would love to see something like that for the cannabis
Yeah.
industry, especially in Texas, not to be calling out shitty people, but to bring awareness to what is made here and who we can support and
Totally.
feel good about it.
And it's back into what I was saying. I mean, like, there's a camaraderie between a lot of the real growers. And as things have progressed, even just of recently, you know, there's been more of it, I think. There's more of a need now to ask each other questions and
Yeah.
show me your grow, show me your garden, show me
Yeah.
your tech. Like, who are you using? What companies? Because things are changing fast for us in the cannabis space, especially in this market. So, but there's still the few that, you know, try to make it really competitive when it doesn't even need to be, because like you said, we have one of the biggest economies even in the world, just Texas.
For real.
There's a lot of shops to sell flower to. There's a lot of people to sell flower to. There's a lot
Yeah,
of
and
people
the
to sell product to.
product too, like, shout out to you for working so hard to make the cannabis plant available for people in Austin. That's a
Thank you.
big
Yeah,
job.
I appreciate it.
And I think
I'm
about
taking the thing. I'm saying thank you on behalf of me and Jeremy Greens too. Jeremy
absolutely.
Anderson, man, and Grant. They're in there every day
And I think about people like Aaron Owens from Tejas Hemp,
for
who
sure.
has Tejas Tonic. He literally told me one day when I went out to his property, he's sitting at the rock house and he's got a Topo Chico and he pours a little bit of terps in the top of it, takes his thumb over it, flips it upside down, and he goes, try this.
This is genius.
And I take a drink of it. I'm like, this is amazing. He goes, I'm going to sell weed in the water, Kevin. And I was like, okay. And look at it. It's blown up. He's got multiple flavors now. People love it. And I know multiple people who are trying to either trim back their alcohol intake or leave it
Dude.
behind all in all. And they can take a Tejas tonic and go out with us and have a good time at the club or the bar, enjoy their cannabis drink as if they were drinking, alcohol, but and then still be able to enjoy what's happening in the
100%.
and hanging out with friends. So and it just goes on and on, whether it's edibles or hash or flower, whatever it is. There's so many, and really like that leaves a lot of room for a lot of different sub industries within
Yeah.
one big industry, and we can all work
Oh,
together.
we're seeing all that too.
Yeah.
People that are staying in their lanes or finding their lane are seeing the success. Whether you're growing, whether you're doing seltzer, whether you're doing edibles, because it used to be you show up to the game and everybody's got the same product. Like it's just how you package it, or where you got it from, but it's the same product. You got your gummies, tincture, edibles, smokable, whatever, right? Same product line. And now that people have kind of stayed in their lanes and figured out what they're actually good at, they see success in these ideas and going all in. But it all comes down to like buy and support local and do your research on these brands and businesses and look at their socials, look at where their products are coming from, if that's open information that they have provide to you or whatever. But I think there's so much here for the cannabis space, whether we're doing products, we're growing, we're making glass, and it's about to explode. I really think it's about to explode. And even going out and about in the industry, people are ready for Texas to kind of like really come to the scene. I think really people are excited, maybe because they want to bring their products and their money here.
Yeah.
Good luck. We're watching you.
Yeah.
But I think it's also because it's exciting. It's the last frontier here.
Yeah.
And people ask me all the time, they're like, dude, why do you want to die on that hill? Like, why? Because I do other things. I do media for real estate. I do a bunch of other things that are in
What
the
does
real
that mean,
world.
die on that
But that's
hill?
what I said. They're like, why do you want to? Well, like they mean like attaching cannabis to my stuff or being out there on my social about it and the plants and everything.
That
They're
really
like,
blows my mind because cannabis is such an amazing plant
and
that's been around
people,
for thousands
but it
of
goes
years.
to the stigma. People believe that, oh, if I have to be professional and these professionals that work with me, if they discover that I am involved in cannabis, it's going to be a problem and I'm going to make less money or anything. I have never experienced that ever once in my life. And in fact, I have gotten more business because people realize that I'm in this industry and it's different and I'm doing something and I'm not the average that people think.
Absolutely.
Right?
And
so
it's really nice to not to have to, I was going to say a negative, not to have to work with people that don't appreciate you,
for sure.
and that's nice.
It's a great qualifier.
They're sort of weeding themselves out, which I love.
Yes.
No pun intended.
Sorry yeah, dude. I think it's exploding right now. The industry is exploding. I'm excited to see what opportunities that brings for you too. Because like I think as flower sales go up and stuff, and as people become more educated and they can find better local sources for things, I think obviously then that because it happened to me naturally. I think it's like, okay, I'm gonna look into like now I want a cool piece or something that's not real heady, or like from a smoke shop, I want something that's custom or that you do, or, that's like different, or a certain one. Like I love the straight line to like Beaker, the Beaker bong. That's like, that's it forever and ever. Right. That's like my one of choice. And so it's like, anytime I can get my hands on one of those, that's like the go-to. And so now it goes from like the design to actually how it's made, who it's made by and stuff. So but like the industry is changing really rapidly, obviously. So you have more flower sales and people looking for quality there. So I think naturally they'll look for quality glass and stuff like that. But like, again, how do you think that's going to play out?
Yeah, I'm watching it happen. It's really great. Like entrepreneurs like yourself that are doing well in the market. Maybe they're making flower, growing flower. Maybe they're processing hash. Maybe they're
Mhm.
creating a drink or an edible, and they're doing well. They turn to me and they're like, "Bro, I've been stacking a little cash and I want to get something nice for myself." Or just like what we were talking about, THCA, how it's
Yep.
available in Austin now, and it's been a bit of a boom. And I've been noticing smoke shops are selling it. Even gas stations and places like that are selling it. So these smoke shops that maybe 2 years ago they didn't have money to spend with me are now coming to me and they're like, "Bro, I got that grip of money I want to drop and fill up my shelves." And I'm like, "Cool, let's go."
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see cannabis being sold locally, grown locally, sold locally, and I see the immediate boost in the economy. I'm glad to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad to hear that someone that's like outside of the even like cannabinoid realm or making products can see that too, because that is a testament to like all the work that we actually do, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and some people I think put effort in the wrong areas when in this industry. But the ones that have, like I was saying earlier, that have gotten in their lane and just ran with it
Yeah.
with their head down, I think we've made a lot of strides in the last few years.
That's
And
cool. It
so
takes a lot of
there's,
guts, bro, to
yeah,
do this. I mean, and people think that growing weed or growing cannabis or whatever is easy. It is not easy.
no,
They think that making hash is easy. It is not easy. There's an art to it, and there's
100%.
there's a lot of skill, a lot of learning, a lot of downfalls. There's a lot,
And
like
I'm a novice, dude, compared to where I will be and like compared to the people I'm around, I am a novice. So I'm just like in the sponge stage of just like anytime I can get a hold of any wisdom, I'm like, I'm gonna put that down in my notes, or I'm gonna
yeah,
like file that away. And it's crazy because even like going to like MJ BizCon and places, I'll be like, hey, I'm from Texas, and of course I try to talk to people about the show, but we're growers. And so then people ask you questions. They're like, oh, you're a grower? And they'll ask you, what are you growing with? Like, what's your growing medium? What
yeah,
lights are you using? Like
yeah,
PPM, all this other stuff. Like
yeah,
that. If you don't answer it, they're like, yeah, you grow like one plant. But if you answer correctly, then it's like all of a sudden you're in the next like level
yeah,
of the whole industry. You're
yeah,
behind the scene. You're behind the curtain now of like you've earned your stripes here.
yeah,
We can check you at the door like a speakeasy or something
yeah,
almost. Of like what's the password? You pass. All right, come into the club now.
yeah. Well, like
And that was a cool experience for me.
something I've noticed about, say, make growing cannabis versus blowing glass. Like I can go in the studio and do an experiment, and that experiment takes me all day. It may
Yeah,
take me 2 days, and after that, I pull it out of the oven, and I know what I've done wrong, and I can go right back in there, and I can. For you guys, your experiment lasts 60 to 90 days, or it might be longer,
100%.
and so your cycles of being able to start anew are longer, and
Definitely.
maybe even longer for outdoor growers than indoor growers who can have maybe more of like a perpetual harvest garden, or
Oh yeah.
and then one little insect problem, one little mold issue, and your whole shit's fucked. You got to start over again, and there goes a whole crop and all the money that you've invested and all the time. And so it may take longer for you guys to grow, to
Yeah.
expand and learn.
Oh, it's been years and we still learn. I think every grower really is always still learning.
I hope so.
But you have to love it too. You have to love it. Just like blowing glass. You have to love it. You have to be able to stand the heat in the summer and keep grinding.
Yeah.
You can be very good at it. You can be very educated on paper, but you have to just also love it, like, and be willing to deal with the 90 days. It's longer than that too, because once you figure out that you did something wrong, usually you try to keep running it over and over again and get it out of there and fix it and then see again if it would have been right the first time and all that stuff. So it's like a rabbit hole.
But it takes at least 45 days for a plant to flower.
Oh yeah,
A
no,
lot of
it's
them are 60 days, and some of the sativas are more like 90 days. So it's like,
yeah.
it's like,
Even to get to see, like, people will give us stuff all the time, like, hey, I just ran this. You want to try a cut, or do you want to try these seeds? And we'll pop them and we'll run them and we'll see what happens. And it's like even 90 days from when that person gives you that gift, you'll see what it actually turns out to be.
yep,
And some of it's on you, some of it's on the plant. It's
yep,
genetics and stuff. So it's a crazy thing, dude. It's crazy. It's art. It's art. It's its own thing. That's our medium. And we like to, like, we'll play like Beethoven and all kinds of
oh
like
yeah,
fancy stuff for
for the
him in there and
plants,
for the
yeah.
plants. Yeah, it's a whole thing,
Yeah,
dude.
and
But
even like someone gives you a pack of seeds or you buy a pack of seeds, and then each one of those seeds has a little bit different,
yeah,
maybe like phenotype or whatever. So you have to go through all those and figure
yeah,
out what you really want, like what puts out the right flavor or yield or
yeah,
whatever you're looking for out of it, and that process takes a long time.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any like controversy in the glass industry? Because like I know we have controversies in like the real like in the cannabinoid realm and stuff, like selling products and all competition and all kinds of stuff. But is there like any controversy in the glass space that you're comfortable talking about?
It seems like there's always controversy in the glass space. I mean, we're talking about big egos,
Yeah,
and
always.
a lot on the line, and a lot of competition that's not always friendly, right? It's not
Hmm.
always friendly. So yeah, there's a lot of that kind of thing. I try to avoid a lot of that and keep my head in the glass game. And really, a lot of times when people are bickering, that's not really where I want to be
Yeah,
anyway. There's too much fun to be had and camaraderie to be
for
had.
sure.
So I try to stay more in my lane or just associate with people that are doing good things. So, but there's always drama,
Yeah,
for
no,
sure.
for sure. This is my final question.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be on the spot.
Yeah.
How do you think cannabis has affected your artistry and even your entrepreneurship journey? Like, how does cannabis play a role in your life and your success? Do you think?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's I saved the hardest, biggest hitter for last. So
Yeah.
I told you it wasn't all flattery.
Well, just having cannabis be a driver, there's a lot of X factors in what I do in times where there's a lot of money pumping into the game that I play. And a lot of that can be like when cannabis is doing really well, whether it's with the head shops and they're
Yeah.
selling cannabis and you see that, or with individual growers or whoever's doing what. And I think that's been beautiful. When I see cannabis really doing well, the industry's doing well, I do well.
Mm-hmm.
When cannabis is suffering, the industry isn't doing that well. Maybe it's too flooded. Maybe the laws are fucked up, or whatever it is. That's times when it's a lot harder for me. So, um, yeah, I think the two are directly connected. You can look at all the surges in the glass game where it's been really good for us, and it's usually directly connected to the cannabis
Yeah.
game. We had like the Biden bucks and stuff like that too. That was great. People were just sitting at home, chilling, smoking, and spending money, and that was great too. But a lot of it's been revolving around how well the cannabis industry is doing. Yeah,
That's cool. Does it inspire you to like make cooler shit? Or...
absolutely. Yeah. In the times when you're not struggling for your next dollar,
Yeah.
trying to pay your bills and make remedial work or just basics work
Mm-hmm.
to just pay your bills, and you have money and you have everything you need, you're not thinking about that next meal, that's when you start really experimenting. Yeah, and all those
That's nice.
ideas that built up, they start flowing out.
Yep.
So it's just beautiful, man. Thank you. These are all great questions, and I really appreciate you having me here today.
People keep telling me I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep rolling with it. If you like what you see here, please subscribe to the Puff and Prosper podcast on YouTube. That is like the only place I'm posting this now. So if you subscribe there, you're getting all of me and my guests and everything. I'm uploading it all to YouTube. Everyone else is giving me trouble. So YouTube wins. Congratulations. Definitely leave us a comment, even if it's about Kevin's tattoos or something that you saw here. If I have a hair out of place, give us a comment because it goes a long way. Seriously, this show and this community has grown so fast and so exponentially larger than I ever believed it could. And it's not because of me. It's not because of where we're at in Soundshed Studios. It is because of you guys actually watching and actually engaging with our content. If you are in the Austin area or in Texas and you're looking to take your content or your podcast or your show to the next level, you have to check out Soundshed Studios. These guys have worked with all the biggest names. I don't need to list their long roster here, but they're the best of the best. We are actually located in their public studio. A lot of big names have used this very room that we're in right now, and you can too. So make sure you check out Soundshed and everything that they got going on. So I will keep bringing you amazing entrepreneurs inside the cannabis industry from Texas and beyond. And we're going to get into some amazing conversations in the future. If you want to see if you want to get in on the action of how I always look this good on episodes, all of my flannels and tops are from Burnside. You can go check them out at burnside360.com. We are doing incredible sales. If you like Viore or Lulu or any of these other brands, but you don't like their price tags, come check out Burnside at burnside360.com. So that is all of the shameless plugs and ads that I had. Thank you, Kevin. Make sure you guys check out Texas Tubes, shoptexastubes.com. He's got some amazing pieces on there, some of which I already have my eyeballs on. So slow feet don't eat. Make sure you go get the pieces that you're looking for. But yeah, support local And thank you so much, dude, for sharing your story, just being candid, being open and honest here. And that's what Buff and Prosper podcast is all about.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, dude. Well, we'll see you guys on the next one.